behind. They're all fired up. What we got to do? First place, our defense has got to go out there and take the ball. And when we get the ball, we got to have 11 people that's going to do their job and try to score every time you get the football. If we do that, we'll be all right. Do that, we'll be all right.
Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Football University with me, Matt Caddell, number 11, former University of Alabama wide receiver, Roll Tide Roll. As you can see, I'm very excited. Get ready to talk. We were 1 week into it. So, listen, this is Football University where we talk anything and everything football, and we find a way to bring it back to the number one university, Alabama Crimson Tide. So, yes, shouts out to all the Bama fans. Shouts out to the student section. Please stay in the comments. That's what we call the student section here at Football University. Yes, we will be discussing Texas. We will be discussing MTSU. We'll be discussing Milroe. We'll be discussing college football in general. You know, the SEC, kind of a letdown, but, you know, it is what it is. So, let's get it started. So I want to talk about my first topic. I want to do week one recap of week one. And Stephen Hicks brought me to my first point. You know, some schools have QB. My Alabama Crimson Tide has Milroe. I mean, I agree. It starts and ends with Milroe. A lot of the chatter, you know, Coach Saban not – you know, playing games with the media when it comes to the depth chart. And, you know, if you're a fan of Football University, you know, I've been discussing about things that I want to see Jalen Milroe continue to improve on in order for him to take this position. As you see, we got a great edit right there. Shouts out to Joey Lozada, CTS-Sports room. But it was things that I wanted him to improve, and I actually saw that on Saturday. His footwork in the pocket. He had great footwork. Maybe holding the ball on a little bit too long for sometimes, but I get it. You know, but he's playing it with confidence, footwork in the pocket, 2 hands on the ball. It was evident on that first touchdown, the ball squeaked by. I mean, most quarterbacks would just fumbled and fell on the ball. You know, we kick a field goal, but no, when you have money meal ticket Milroe as your quarterback, you know, he can make things happen. And he obviously made magic with that busted play, but it just shows you the amount of talent, you know, his footwork and his pocket presence. And I've been mentioning his deep ball accuracy. I mean, he hit a couple deep balls. Touchdown to Burton, one Isaiah Bond was in stride, and the one to Amari Niblack. So not black. So I was glad to see Jalen Milroe continue to improve, but I think it's important that, listen, he continues to improve. Everybody on the team continue to improve, continue to develop, because we have a long season, and we know we got through MTSU, and I think MTSU, I said it last week, MTSU will be a good first game opponent because they always play Alabama tough. I mean, you look at the Blue Raiders led by Rick Stockhill. I mean, it was the second quarter, It was 14-0. I think they presented a lot of blitzes. I mean, we were at a stall. They blitzed. I mean, they have players too. So those guys blitzed. I believe it was great that MTSU sent us so many different blitz packages week one that we can learn from moving forward. I'm glad we kind of saw all those different type of packages week one to really help improve our offensive line, running backs. Obviously, they got to continue to improve in pass pro. But just Milroe playing with confidence within the locker room, within the offense. And listen, I love the game plan. Tommy Reese, I think we were, 5 for 5 on 3rd and short running the ball. I mean, it's just great. It is just great all around. Kevin Steele had the defense flying around. We were kind of thin on the linebacker. I think Jahad Campbell will be back here a couple weeks maybe, but Kendrick Blackshire, man, he made some plays. Guys are developing, playing with confidence. Trezvon Marshall, he played really good. Deontay Lawson, I think, we were very vanilla. I think we got some things we're going to show that we didn't show versus MTSU that we're going to show versus Texas. So that's my recap. Let's get to the student section. RTR to everybody. Stephen Hicks, B. Jammin, William Bryant. Let's see. Let's get to the RTR. Let's get to the comment section. They said one caller on college said that he was worried about his team Texas coming to Tuscaloosa because he said that Quinn Ewers can't pass long accurate. Listen, let's transition to Texas. Let's go ahead and get there. Let's go ahead and start. Coach Sark was on the halftime of the LSU Florida State game. We're going to discuss that later. But Sark is an offensive genius. I've watched him versus Rice, and I want to say this: don't get too caught up in how bad they look versus Rice. Quinn Ewers got hit a lot. Offensive line didn't look the best. But, it is what it is. It's week one. Some of your best teams make the best improvement from week one to week two. And so that's one thing I'm glad about Alabama. Alabama is not peaking yet. It's been so many times in the past where we look so dynamic week one, but then we kind of, digress throughout the season. So I think we have a lot to continue to improve on throughout the season. I think MTSU was a great start. But, the Texas week, Coach Saban had his press conference. Shouts out to Milroe winning SEC Player of the Week. Caleb Downs winning SEC Freshman of the Week. I believe those are well-deserved. But listen, Coach Saban talked about this is going to be a barometer to where we can gauge how good this team is, coming with the talent from Texas, from Sark coming in out of Austin, Texas, the Longhorns. So I'll be eating steaks all week. But anyway, Texas presents a lot of challenges. Going back to Sark offensively, I was watching the game because it came after the Colorado Tennessee Tech TCU game. We will discuss that later. Sark presents a lot of challenges, and I think it's important for our defense to communicate and make adjustments on the fly. Kind of pick up the tendencies. I know Sark was very vanilla, but one thing Sark is a master. He probably does best than any offensive coordinator in the country is pre-snap motion. I think that's important for our defense to adjust, to get used to. I think we struggled with that last year when they had Bijan Robinson, Worthy, pre-snap motion, moving 2 and 3 guys, spacing out, and I don't think we made the best adjustments. I don't think we had the right personnel. So Sark is going to use those pre-snap motions to really get mismatches, space. I think it's important that we are locked in on personnel as well as scheme. So I think it's going to be, I'm interested to see the chess match between Coach Steele, Coach Saban, T-Rob versus Sarkisian Coach Milwee and the offensive staff. So I think one thing I did learn from the MTSU game, we've got to be able to defend East and West a little bit better. I think that's something that the teams can try to exploit. And I think one thing Sark's going to try to do is going to try to exploit his tight ends. MTSU had a tight end. He was just getting off. He was a big guy, number 6, I believe. So I think I know in this modern day era of college football, the air raid and no huddles, you have so much to defend, but that's just parts of it. So let's go to the student section. Let's see. Justin Summerlin says RTR, Matt. RTR to everybody. RTR, Lori Caddell. Stephen Hicks says, Bama looked pretty good. Now it's game week. We got to continue with the joyless murder ball. Just focusing on doing what we need to do, locking in, having our being locked in on our assignment. Because I tell you, Sark is going to do a lot of pre-snap motion. That's just how he is. He's going to, have tight ends. He's going to explode. He's going to do all these type of motions, trying to confuse and get mismatches on our defense. So I think that's something our defense is going to have to really be locked in on. Shouts out to William Brown in the student section. He says, I'm glad Matt's not taking Labor Day off for us roll time. I mean, it's hard to take Labor Day off. I mean, I just got a newborn, so it's really no time off anyway. So it is what it is. But, yeah, I'm glad to be here. It's football university. This is week 1. We got to talk Alabama football. Icebox says, back to Smash Mouth football. I agree. I think we're really going to we're going to show a little bit more offensively running the game. I don't want to give too much of the sauce leading into the Texas game because, Sark might be watching football university. You never know. But it is what it is, to your point. Yeah, back to Smash Mouth football. I'm glad we're running the ball. Listen, we ran the ball. We got to the red zone, and it was very simple. Milrose scored a running touchdown. Buckner scored a running touchdown. Simpson scored a rushing touchdown. So I'm just glad we're running the ball when we get in the red area, not trying to be cute, not trying to be fancy, pass the ball. We will, do that later on down the road. So let's stay in the student section. Y'all are ripping and rolling. I mentioned last week, Justin Summer, I think we were very vanilla. You can tell we were vanilla, which is good. Hopefully we can stay vanilla the rest of the year and continue to run the same vanilla game plan and just continue to win and dominate. But yeah, I was just glad to see us, deal with some adversity, deal with some challenges. But I think our team, they had the right mindset. That's one thing I love about this team. The mindset, the confidence that they have this me against the world mentality that I love. And they have such a chip on their shoulder. They are not letting any external factors given into them, dictate how they perform or how they prepare, because they are just focused, locked in. And I think you have a lot of leadership. You got a lot of hungry, high character guys that are just really hungry and ready to go out there and dominate. So, I think it's going to be interesting. So, let's see. Let's talk a lot of Texas talk, obviously. Let's see. It says, excuse me. It says Texas fans are scared of Milrose's legs. It was MTSU, but it was under Steele and Reese's game, playing out Pete. Yeah, let's don't talk about Bill and Pete, because just watching that LSU game last night just made me that much furious or angry about how we lost to LSU last year. But anyway, this is neither here nor there. Yeah, listen, I think Milroe presents a lot of challenges with the zone read option, RPO. I think we were very vanilla. I think we're still going to be a little vanilla. We're going to try to run it down their throat, set the tone. Texas has a really good front seven. Ford, I know he made flashes. We know they got Coach Bo Davis, who's probably one of the top defensive line coaches there is. They might not have the SEC personnel, but that first seven that they have, I think it's important that we be physical all week for these guys, because they're pretty good. They're not bad on the back end, excuse me. So Justin Summerlin says, Tommy Reese has a lot of pre-snap motion too. He does, but I was watching this Texas Rice game. Sark was just throwing. He was vanilla, but he was showing a lot. I mean, he was motioning the tight end, motioning the receivers, motioning the halfback. I think he kind of, because they were down, I believe, 7-0 at one point versus Rice. So he had to kind of, go in his bag a little bit. But Sark is going to try to present a lot of matchups, pre-snap motion, tight end, running back, receivers. That's what he does. So it's going to be interesting to see how we defend that. But yeah, I think Tommy Reese does a lot of pre-snap motion, to your point. Justin Summerlin as well. I just don't think he showed as much as possible. And I think we have the advantage because we're, it's like playing a game of a poker or whatever. We're still not showing our hands. You still don't know what we're going to do. You don't know if it's going to be Bama's playbook, or it's going to be Tommy Reese's, or it's going to be a combination of both. So I think we're able to, really dictate to the defense how they want to play us, especially when we have such a dynamic playmaker in Milroe at the quarterback position. Listen, speaking of Texas, sneaky news came out today. So, Bama played at Austin. It was the second game of the home-and-home series versus Texas. And we played in Austin last year. Bryce Young saved the day again for us to get the victory. But last year, Texas wanted to put our band in the upper deck. And so our band did not travel. So what does Greg Byrne do to basically give them the same hospitality? He has all the fans for Texas in the upper deck, and the band should be in the upper deck just to kind of, pay them homage to how they treated us. And I thought that was sneaky news. So I'm excited about this Texas game. Everybody and their mama's going to be there. You got ESPN Game Day. You got Barstool. You got SEC Nation SEC Nation is going to be there. So, this is the biggest game on the calendar this week. I believe Texas probably be a top 10. I think they're a top 10, top 15 team. And I hope Alabama stays at number 4 or 5. I don't want us to be number 1. I want them to keep whoever it is at number 1, keep them at number 1. So let's keep it rolling. William Bryan says, what I like was seeing we were substituting a lot more. Yeah, we were rotating. I mentioned we rotated the running backs, the linebackers. I just think it was good to see us rotate. Listen, that second sneaky, if you rewatch the game, watch our freshman offensive lineman with that second unit, Miles McVay. He's a road grader. Olas Adonin, he looks legit. So I think these guys can help push some of these older guys to get in that starting rotation. So, to your point, I was glad to see us rotate and substitute guys. So let's stay in the student section. B. Gemma has a great comment. He says, with the size of Milroe, his explosiveness, he needs to keep doing what he's doing and keep it in third and short. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, but I will say it's going to be interesting to see when teams put a spy on us and when they do just drop 8, drop 9, try to just force guys to pass the ball, force Milroe to pass the ball. So it's going to be interesting. That's where you have a good offensive coordinator, Tommy Reese. I think he's going to be in his bag versus Sark because this is going to be a great matchup. So Justin Summerlin says, yes, rotate on the defensive line too. Yeah, our defensive line rotated really well. And this one guy I was really impressed with, Tim Keenan, 96. If you go back and watch, man, he was getting a lot of pressures, taking on blocks, getting into the backfield. He looked very impressive. So I'm glad to see those guys. Latham, I just think we need to continue to develop those guys as well as other position groups and continue to develop that confidence. That way we can just have, continue to rotate and play more players. So, let's see. Stephen Hicks already shooting fireworks. Oh, I can't get a go FSU. LSU exposes frauds. Yeah. Well, let's transition from Texas and MTSU and Milroe and all this talk. Let's talk to my next topic. And that was week 1 college football. And I got to say, listen, I said last week, I got LSU, probably playing Alabama twice, going to the college football playoff. Listen, that was bad. Listen, LSU looked very bad. Like I stopped watching the game because it was pretty close. I was getting tired or whatnot, but they were in Jacksonville, and come to find out, they got destroyed by FSU. FSU, I've been saying they're going to be probably them and Clemson, the top 2 teams coming out the ACC. But yeah, it was not a good showing by LSU. Not a good showing by a lot of SEC teams. We lost that ACC-SEC matchup. We lost another one with North Carolina versus South Carolina. I don't know what South Carolina was doing. I mean, it was just Beamer ball. They're still not there yet. I mean, they're good offseason hype, generating offseason hype and things like that, but they are not there. North Carolina beat them. And then, as usual, Florida, Utah. I was not expecting much of Florida anyway, so I just thought Utah was going to win anyway, but not a good showing by the SEC when it came to those neutral site games. So we need Alabama to step up this week and kind of, tote the banner for the SEC to be effective. But yeah, another big thing about Saturday. I'm just going to go ahead and talk about it. Colorado, I believe they had, obviously Tennessee played Virginia, but I don't think nobody was watching that game. From what I saw, everybody was watching Colorado, Coach Prime, the Buffaloes go against TCU. And listen, they put on an absolute clinic. Shedeur Sanders, his draft stock, his skyrocketed. You can tell that him being able to work with Tom Brady, how much that paid off. His accuracy. But the story of the game was, Coach Prime, the Colorado Buffaloes, and Travis Hunter playing mostly all the snaps offensively and defensively, had a pick, had a touchdown. This guy was just unreal. Had over 100 yards receiving, but shouts out to Colorado and Coach Prime. They are making a lot of noise. They got Nebraska next week at home in Boulder, Colorado, so I think they're going to get a victory right there. But yeah, I had to shout out Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes because they shocked the world. But TCU, how bad is it for TCU? They got destroyed in the national championship, and then they opened up week 1 and lose at home again. So it is what it is. But college football was just interesting. Like I said, nobody that I know of actually watched the Virginia and Tennessee game. I thought that was a bad slot for ABC. I'm interested to see how the ratings come out because I know everybody and their mama was watching Colorado, TCU, and nobody was really watching Virginia and Tennessee. I believe from what I did see, Milton looked pretty good. Just kind of already trying to game plan for them. They got a pretty decent running back. But yeah, I think Milroe just looks like a more polished quarterback in the SEC. So yeah, it was interesting. So let's get back to the student section. Let's see. Yes, our running backs were trying to hit the center holes too fast. Seemed to have a little trouble running up the middle. I think, they were just kind of getting their juices going. I still think it starts up front with the offensive line. I think just Middle Tennessee State just presented a lot of challenges up front for us throughout the game. And I think, that's why I said Alabama's got a lot to develop. We're not there yet. So we need to continue to develop and get ready because we got a tough SEC slate. Listen, and I mentioned the SEC. I mentioned how the SEC fared versus ACC, but can I give y'all my sleeper teams out the SEC West? Texas A&M, they're going to be a problem. They finally got a quarterback, and biggest news is Jimbo Fisher's not calling plays. He's got Bobby Petrino calling plays. They were like a total different offense. Comer, I believe, threw 5 touchdowns. So Texas A&M got a really good receiving core. That's going to be probably our most challenging road game, I believe. I believe Arkansas is going to be having them for homecoming. KJ Jefferson, Sam Pittman, I think they're going to be challenging. Obviously going to Auburn, Jordan Hare, but that Texas A&M, don't sleep on them. So it's going to be interesting to see. So let's go back to the section. Deontay Lawson was everywhere, man. I mean, the biggest thing from the Alabama game, Alabama defense looked like an Alabama defense. We were physical. We had sacks. We were getting turnovers. We were hitting guys left and right. We knew what we were doing. We were playing with confidence. We weren't showing the same look every time. So it was a good Alabama looked good. But Deontay Lawson, I mean, he had a sack. I think he could have had 2. But I think this defense, I think players are going to be, itching to make their name versus this Texas team Saturday night. So I know me being a former player, some guys that didn't make all the plays week 1, they are even that much more motivated to make plays week 2, and the rest of the season. So listen, it's going to be exciting to see. But Deontay Lawson, man, he looked like probably the best linebacker that I saw in the SEC. Maybe I'm biased, but listen, he looked legit. So keep it up, Deontay Lawson. Charles Everidge has a great comment. He says, "Who's your MVP on both offense and defense this past week at Alabama?" I think I'm going to start with defensive. I'm going to go with Deontay Lawson. I think he did a great job getting us in the right play, leading the guys defensively, making plays when they needed to be made plays. And I think offensively, I mean, I'm going to go with Jalen Milroe. I mean, the guy made that first touchdown. He made magic happen, basically, off a botched play. And I think it's important for both of these guys to continue to develop, continue to improve, continue to develop leadership-wise, confidence-wise. That way we can just, always not being satisfied, always staying hungry. Like, I think never get complacent. I think that's the biggest advice I would share with them. So let's go to the Stephen Hicks has a great comment. Shouts out to the student section. Y'all are awesome. He said, "Sure, the offensive line, keep turning, safeties keep turning your head. Hans Burton on the ball. We got the guys. Barbecue and Brian Denny on Saturday." I think it's going to be it'll be a barbecue, but I think we'll be grilling a lot of steaks, a lot of beef, a lot of Longhorn. Me personally, I want the ribeye or the T-bone. I want a nice, medium well or whatnot. But yeah, hopefully the Bama football team goes out there and dominate the Longhorns. But yeah, I think offensive line we could sure up. Dalcourt, he was to me, he was my biggest question mark on the offensive line. I think he was getting whooped a lot. Like I said, MTSU, they were really good up front, but I wouldn't mind seeing some of those freshmen, McVay, Olas Alanin, Terrence Ferguson, whoever, at that right guard. I think they can really sure up that offensive line. But Caden Proctor looked good. The offensive line, listen, Latham, those guys, Booker, man, them some grown men. Them guys are physical, and I love the tenacity. I love the mindset that we play with up front. So let's stay in the student section. Justin Summerlin says, LSU has no secondary. Back to LSU. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's up with LSU. I thought they were playing a good game at first. I mean, I thought they had FSU on the ropes. But to me, it just looks their offense is defensively. I know the secondary, to your point, Justin Summerlin, I think they got a guy from Syracuse, Southeast Louisiana, and somewhere else. It is what it is, but I don't know if FSU was just that much more dominant as far as I believe they have probably a better coaching staff that made the better adjustment. They played the whole 60 minutes because when it got to the second half, I mean, it was just beat down. But LSU, I mean, on the other hand, Brian Kelly, he ran his mouth saying we're going to beat the crap out of FSU. I'm quite sure that didn't help earlier in the week. And then offensively, when they're going empty, I mean, their offense is really predictable. When they're going empty, it's going to probably be a quarterback draw, and that's probably basically what it was. So, listen, I believe LSU is going to get it together. They're going to have to, especially in the SEC West, because it's going to be tough out there. So, but listen, I hope that doesn't. I hope that just leaves Bama to lick their chops to beat LSU when they come to town in November. So let's stay in the student section. Y'all are ripping and rolling. Yeah, just someone said, yeah, they ran LSU's defense into the ground. They actually did. I think another thing, P. Jammin has a great point. We do have to put pressure on Quinn Ewers. One thing I did was impressed. We didn't have many penalties versus the game. I do think we can improve punt return. I would like to see. I love Kool-Aid. I just think Kool-Aid needs to make a one cut and just get upfield. And hold the ball high and tight. I feel like we were carrying the ball a little bit loosely throughout the game, where it could have been easily somebody can swipe and knock the ball out. And those could be, those turnovers can affect the game a whole lot. So I still think it's a work in progress. Still think we need to run, one cut and go from if it's going to be Kool-Aid, he just needs to one cut and go. I think we can do a better job of, if it's a return, blocking the guys. I was just seeing too many guys roam free by the time Kool-Aid got the punt return. So, I think those are things we can work on special teams wise. So, defense making the interception. Listen, Jaden Key, man, that guy looks very good. You see why he's starting next to Caleb Downs. I mean, that guy just the talent coming out of UAB. I mean, he played the route perfectly, made a great play on the ball. So, I think it's important for this Alabama team, preparation, practice, preparation. Like, they need to be locked in weekend, all week from everything. Every player, everybody from the janitor needs to be locked in this week because you have great preparation that's going to lead to great performance on Saturdays. And so I think we can use this, as Coach Saban said, as a barometer, and hopefully we can use it as a springboard to, for the rest of the season and really get it going. So Justin Summerlin, great comment. I mean, he says Dalcourt needs to be on the bench. Play Ferguson and guard. Yeah, Dalcourt, to me, I don't know what it was. He seemed like the weakest link on the offensive line. I mean, he's good, but I wouldn't mind seeing Ferguson. I wouldn't mind seeing McVay, Alanin, somebody. McVay is a road grader. I saw him on one of the touchdown runs. He was just dominant. I was like, man, maybe we need to kind of rotate this guy in with the ones. But Ferguson, I think he's hungry to make noise for himself too. We're going to need it. We don't need a weak link versus Texas because Texas front seven is really good. I talked about Bo Davis. Bo Davis knows how to get those defensive line into pressure. So they do a good job. So it's going to be interesting. We need to have the offensive line rolling come Saturday. So let's stay in the student section. Latoya Billings just shouts out to Latoya Billings and says, yeah, my favorite part was only 2 penalties. Glad to have team discipline. The team seemed internally disciplined. Like, they want to make sure they're disciplined locked in. They don't need the coaches to discipline them. Like, these guys have such self-discipline. I think that's what makes a great team. So shouts out to the Bama teams. Yes, Caleb Downs was on fire being freshman of the week. Listen, I think Justice Haynes going to have a big game versus Saturday. Me personally, I think we could do a lot offensively. I think this is going to be one of those games. Yeah, we rotate guys, but we're going to play the guys who's got the hot head, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if Haynes is one of those running backs. So I think Jam Miller is going to have to redeem himself. He had that we got Milrose sacked that one pass pro set. And I think Rodell looked really good. I think he looked like he was reading had great vision, reading I think he's going to have a big game. So it's going to be interesting. Listen, Texas got some good running backs too. They got Cedric Baxter, the freshman out of Florida, and they got number 24 Robinson, I believe, is his name. He's pretty good running back, so it's going to be interesting to see. But we got a lot to prepare for. So yeah, let's stay in the student section. Listen, Caleb Downs, he has a great game. He had the most tackles, for a freshman. I mean, Caleb Downs is like an all-pro. Every time I see him on the field, he reminds me of an Ed Reed, Hall of Fame safety who was with the Baltimore Ravens for so long. So, yeah, that's what Caleb Downs reminds me of. But we're going to need it versus Texas Longhorns. Rodell Williams, he did look to be our power running back when it comes to short down and distance. So, it's going to be interesting to see. So, Stephen Hicks has a bold prediction. He says, listen, Kool-Aid's going to return a kick to the house. Listen, I think I mentioned Travis Hunter earlier, and, I think that's going to motivate a lot of kids to kind of go back to playing both ways. I know we had Dion would play both ways, offensive, defense. But Kool-Aid is one of those guys that can do it. I think if Kool-Aid is on fire, I mean, he's going to have to lock down Worthy and all these talented receivers. I think that, Kool-Aid, if he gets a pick, he takes a punt back, maybe we throw him in there on a reverse or something, It's going to be interesting to see. I think we're going to open up so much offensively, game plan-wise. That's just going to real springboard our team for this season. To my point, that's what Icebox, shouts out to Icebox, says, listen, this will set the tone for the rest of the season. Jeff Saberlin said, did you see what Milroe said? Not being prepared is a lack of preparation. Listen, Milroe, I got to give it to the guy. The guy speaks he's very humble. He's very very thoughtful. He's just a guy. I think he takes all the negativity, and we know as Bama fans, you got your people who want Ty Simpson to be the quarterback, and they're still hating on Milroe or doubting him for whichever reason there is. I think that just gives him even much more motivation. So, listen, continue to doubt the guy because I think that's going to help him perform at an even more elite high level. You look at quarterbacks like, Jalen Hurts. He heard it so much like, this guy can't throw. But look, Jalen had one of the best seasons this past year, leading his team to the Super Bowl. So, it's going to be interesting to see. I need Jalen Milroe to continue to develop. But the guy has such a good character, has a great head on his shoulders. So, that's just the type of player, type of leader that you want from your QB. So let's go to my next topic. Sweet Home Alabama 22 says, great to see Milroe go through progression, stay in the pocket. Great to see secondary blow up bubble screens on defense. It's going to be, I think, those bubble screens, those quick screens laterally. I think those are things that, Sark is a play caller. He likes to set up things for later. Him and Kiffin, those were type, but really much more Sark. He's really methodical. He's really into it. So it's going to be interesting to see the chess match between Sark and Coach Steele. So let's go to my next topic. So we discussed MTSU, we discussed Colorado, we discussed Bama. We previewed Texas, but I got to say this. I wanted to shift gears to Mark Ingram. Can I talk about College Game Day and Mark Ingram? And I know he's on Fox College Football Noon Kickoff, but he is such a great personality on TV. I know ESPN College Game Day has Pat McAfee. Me personally, I think Mark Ingram is a better TV personality than Pat McAfee when it comes to college football. I mean, the guy is he's a natural. You saw Coach Saban, giving him his shout out video on Saturday, congratulating him being on the noon kickoff. So Listen, Mark Ingram, man, this guy is a talent. If I'm ESPN, I'm looking at Desmond Howard, Kirk Herbstreit, you got to have Reese Davis, you got to have Lee Corso is on his way out. But if you can somehow maybe get a Mark Ingram with maybe a Pat McAfee, a Kirk, and a Reese, that can do some damage. Like, I think that would be must see TV. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. But like, listen, I got to say, I believe Mark Ingram's a better personality than Pat McAfee. And I really like Pat McAfee. I think he brings a lot to the table. But yeah, Mark Ingram, I just had to shout him out, man. He does an amazing job. So, yeah, let's go back to the student section. Listen, Stephen Hicks is just rolling for us. He says, Milroe said he just wants the team to get better and win with the team. And the best of all, he said, I'm just here to play for Alabama. Outstanding young man. And he ended his press conference with Roll Tide. I mean, you can't get better. I mean, guys who really love Alabama football, like once you come to Alabama, you no longer bleed just regular blood. You start bleeding crimson. Most of the Alabama fans, we all bleed crimson anyway. But yeah, man, the guy's just got a great head on his shoulder. I just want him to continue to develop, continue to improve, because sky's the limit. I mean, you know, me personally, I think he's one of the top QBs in the SEC in the country. But, you know, I think he's not too concerned in all the accolades. He wants to lead his team to victory. He wants them to be effective, and he wants to win the national championship, SEC championship. That's the only thing he cares about. So I'm glad to have Milroe on our side, you know, just continue to develop. Jeff Stapleton has a great point. He said he did say let the naysayers know. He did say let the naysayers know, because a lot of people were talking bad. Still a lot of people out there doubting. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, people have their own opinions, their own beliefs, or own thoughts, but you know, it is what it is. I think it's more fuel for Milroe to be that much more impressive. You know, I think Milroe only cares about believing in himself, and he's got the guys to believe in him. You know, the Bama, just watch the team, how they respond to him. I think J.C. Layton tweeted after the game, having faith in 4. When the team come out the tunnel, you know, they go to the end zone and take a knee and pray and all that stuff. And when Milroe was down there, like D linemen, everybody came to him, just showing you that they have so much confidence and so bought into his leadership. So to me, that tells you he has the team. Now, I will say this, just my observations. This is me looking at the backup quarterbacks. Once Milroe came out the game, Tyler Buckner, you know, he came in. He was number 2, which I think shocked everybody. But to me, I think our second best quarterback, I believe, is Ty Simpson. Even though Ty Simpson got in garbage time, he scored, I still think he has a better handle of the offense. I think he has better command of the offense as opposed to Buckner. But, you know, I'm not there in practice. I'm just going off what I saw Saturday. So to me personally, I think it's Milroe, and I think Simpson's probably our best option at number 2, then Buckner. But yeah, I thought Simpson, you know, he looked a little bit better, more poised, more confident than Buckner on Saturday. So I mean, I want to know you all's thoughts. But yeah, so that was just my observation. You know, I had to share it here at Football University because that's what we do. B. Jamin says, listen, Ingram's my favorite Bama RB. He just has that mentality that you ain't stopping me, man. He's such a great, I mean, he's just such a great TV personality. It seems like obviously we know he's a great human being, but man, I mean, he's just such a great. I was watching, you know, college football kickoff, and I'm like, man, this guy to me has a better personality. If I'm college game day, I'm making that call. I might slide Desmond Howard out because he really doesn't. Des has been on the decline, in my opinion, the past couple of years. I think he's just mainly been anti-SEC, da 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 da. I mean, I get it, but it just seems like he doesn't bring anything to the table on College Game Day. Obviously, turn on TV for Herb Street. Corso is, it's kind of sad to see him kind of dwindling down, going off. He's getting older, but McAfee, he brings a lot of juice, a lot of energy. So me personally, this is what we do at Football University. I'm going Reese, McAfee, Mark Ingram, Herb Street. Boom, I think you got it right then and there. But yeah, Lane, let all naysayers know. I love it. I love it. Let all naysayers know. I believe that's Terry Arnold. I think that's kind of the mantra that this team has kind of, one of the mantras that this team is kind of going on is letting everybody know. Let all the naysayers know. Listen, you keep down us. We're going to continue to prove ourselves and perform. So I love that mentality. Like I said earlier in the show, I love this team's mindset. I love their focus. I mean, I love how it's just like a difference between night and day. Having the staff, having the leadership of Coach Saban with Tommy Reese and Steele and from last year. I mean, just at the press conferences, the guys are coming speaking with a different mentality, a different level of confidence, a different level of focus, and a different level of just drive, and I'm glad to see these guys. So I'm really glad that this team has that type of mentality. So let's stay in the BGM has a great comment. He says, listen, I bet beating Texas is so much fuel for Milroe to take control and push the whole Bama team. Listen, it is him being a Texas guy. You look at Jam Miller, he's from Texas. He's going to want to prove himself. I think the secondary going against this top offensive wide receiver core, that's going to be a big matchup. You look at Kool-Aid. I mean, this is probably one of the top battles at the secondary position, secondary versus receiver. I think that's one of the matchups that I'm going to be looking at, how our secondary, Terry Young, Amos, Downs, Key, Malachi Moore, how they defend all these talented receivers. I think that's going to be a good chess match. T-Rob, Saban in the secondary going against, Sark and the talented receivers that he has. But listen, it doesn't go unnoticed me. For me being a former receiver going against top secondaries, you kind of lick your chops. But I can only imagine how Kool-Aid and Arnold, how those guys are locked in, ready to prove a point Saturday. So I'm excited to see these guys go out there and dominate. So I need them to get like 3 or 4 picks versus Quinn Ewers. Why not? Let's do it. Let's get a pick 6. Let's take one to the crib. Let's do it. Let's get some sacks. Let's make it happen. So, I'm excited to see this game on Saturday. Wow, y'all are rolling. Let's Jeff Stapleton say, Simpson's a good scrambler. He can make defenders look stupid for 15 years. Yeah, 14, 15 yards. Yeah, me personally, I think Ty Simpson is our second best quarterback. That's just me personally. I'm not there at campus. But yeah, I mean at practice. But yeah, I think Ty Simpson, from what I saw Saturday, he looked like he was the best quarterback. I believe he'll probably be quarterback number 2 moving forward. That's just my 2 cents. But I think Simpson looked better. I think he looked more poised, looked more calm, collect. He is a coach's kid. So I saw excitement on the sideline too. Team bonding and becoming beasts. That's what I think we were lacking. I think we had so much what's the word I'm looking for? And I don't want to say anxiety, doubt, not confidence. Led by, I think a lot of that had to do with we were so reliant on Bryce Young to save the day that, we were just performing whatever. But yeah, I think you look at a perfect example of team bonding. That first play, that first pass that Jalen Milroe threw to Isaiah Bond, and Isaiah Bond ran over the defender. You saw the sideline erupt. I mean, Justin Jefferson, all these guys were just so excited. So, listen, I'm glad to see this team. I really like this team. Chemistry, this team. Um, um, just the mentality that they have, I think this is great for the team. B. Jamin said, yeah, it was just a lot of overthinking last year. I think it was a lot of overthinking from the players, and I think it was a lot of overthinking from the coordinators, i.e. Pete Golden. I don't think he knew what he was doing. Bill O'Brien, I think he was just making it rocket science, trying to incorporate this option route, putting everything on Bryce, having Bryce set the front, have Bryce set the protection, have Bryce make the adjustment. And that's why every time we were running the play last year, the time clock will always be coming down to like 3 or 4 seconds before we hype the ball. So, I just think these guys are right. And we got the right. Coach Saban made the right. He got rid of the both coordinators, and I'm trying not to talk about them, but he got the 2 guys that are right, that fits our program with Steele and Reese. So, listen. Yeah, somebody else says, I hope Saban, Reese flips off Buckner and Simpson. Yeah, Simpson look a little bit better. I'm a little bit more confident in Simpson. If I, maybe, just if we had to go to Simpson, if we had to go to another 2 quarterback, I'm more confident in Simpson being that number 2 quarterback. So, yeah, I want to. Great comments, great. Who will win, Clemson or Duke? I'm going to go with Clemson. I know they're playing at Duke. Sneaky games this week in the SEC. Ole Miss got to go to Tulane. Now, I think that's going to be a sneaky game this week. I know Ole Miss put up 73 versus Mercer. I mean, it is what it is, but listen, don't sleep on them. So it's going to be interesting to see. I want to discuss, I know this is what we do here at Football University. We got NFL football on Thursdays, kicking off with the Chiefs playing the Detroit Lions. And I don't know if any of you all are fantasy heads like me, but my preseason rookie, my Football University offensive rookie of the year prediction is either going to be Jahmyr Gibbs or Bryce Young. My defensive rookie of the year is going to either be Will Anderson or Brian Branch. I'm letting you know Brian Branch is coming for the Detroit Lions. I actually think it's hard to go against the reigning, 2-time Super Bowl champs, Mahomes, But I think I'm gonna roll with the Lions on Thursday. I don't know why. I think I'm gonna roll with the Lions. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how our Alabama rookies, our Alabama players, perform. Will Jalen Hurts get back to the Super Bowl? What's Tua gonna do this year with the Miami Dolphins? I know they opened up versus the LA Chargers in LA versus Justin Herbert and that offensive led, Justin Herbert, Keaton Allen. So it's going to be interesting. So I'll be looking at Jahmyr Gibbs, Will Anderson, Brian Branch, Tua, Jalen, Devontae Smith. Listen, it's going to be interesting to see. So I'm glad to see those guys go out there and ball out. Speaking of the Eagles, roll Eagles roll. Speaking of, where are those Georgia fans at? I know Georgia. I don't think they look that impressive to me. Me personally, I mean, I just don't think they look that impressive. I know they got Carson Beck. I didn't even watch the game, but this is just going off what I'm hearing, for some of my old teammates and things like that. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Justin Summerlin said, "Yeah, that's mine too, man." Bryce Will and Brian Brett. Oh, Eli Ricks. Don't sleep on Eli Ricks. He's been balling. It's going to be interesting to see how the running backs do. I'm looking to have Derrick Henry have a big year. He's going to have pretty so-so years the past couple of years, but he needs to go back to having that 2,000 yard rushing game. We mentioned Josh Jacobs last week, how he finally got his contract. They opened up versus Denver. Listen, it's going to be interesting to see. You look at them playing Denver, Devontae Adams versus Patrick Surtain, another Bama guy who's the top corner in the league. It's going to be interesting. Trevon Diggs with the Cowboys, it's going to be very interesting to see. So I'm excited. Football is here. We're so excited. It's like my favorite time of the year. So excited. Justin Summers said Josh Jacobs, yeah, he's going to be rolling too. Oh, shouts out to the Commanders. The Commanders, I think they're going to be a sneaky team. They got the defense led by Deron Payne, the Bash brothers, Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen up front. Brian Robinson, I think he's going to have a big year going in his second year. So it's going to be interesting to see. So, listen, this is what we're going to discuss it and talk about it all here at Football University. So tune in next Monday. But at the end of the day, it's all about the Tide. I'm ready for the Tide to roll. Get them some steaks. You can have them rare, or I just need all the Bama fans to just have steaks after the game, after we beat the Longhorns. Everybody, all the Bama fans treat themselves to a steak. In commemorating us beating the Longhorns, and I hope that the Alabama football team, fillets this Texas team on Saturday and make it down, because it's going to be a great atmosphere. I said game day is going to be there. Everybody there, the mom, I believe Barstool's going to be there. Everybody in their mom is going to be there. I wonder will we see Mr. All right, Mr. Matthew McConaughey. He might be down there. He might be the guest picker. You never know who is going to be. I wonder who the guest picker is going to be. It's going to be, Joe Namath, Justin Thomas. The list goes on and on. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be Matt McConaughey. It's going to be interesting to see. So let's go to the student section before we shut it down. Georgia Nation just needs to keep that three-peat fantasy in their heads. Can't wait. Bama meets them in the ATL. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I was a little bit disappointed by South Carolina. Tennessee, I think, Milton, I think they're good. They're going to be competitive in the SEC West, but in the SEC East. But South Carolina, I had a lot of hype with them, especially with Beamer Ball coming back and having Spencer Rattler another 2 years under his tutorship. But I watched the game Saturday in Charlotte, and it was like a 4th and 19, and this guy threw they went for it without not even kicking a field goal, which I thought was weird. And he threw the most basic play, and I was like, really, Shane Beamer? But that's neither here nor there. I think they'll get it wrapped around, but because they got to get it figured out versus Georgia. I think they play Georgia in 2 weeks in Athens, I believe. So that's going to be interesting. I still think Georgia has, they got it easy over there in the SEC East. They got it made. So it is what it is. But yeah, to your point, I need Alabama to handle the West. Like I said earlier, I think Texas A&M is going to be a really challenging game going to College Station with Jimbo Fisher, and now having Bobby Petrino calling the offense with that offensive receiving core that they have. That's going to be a lot. But if they're going to want to throw it, we'll defend it. I think we'll be prepared. So I'm excited about that. So let's go in the student section real quick. Rapid fire. Bombs balling now. It was beautiful. I can't wait to see what he does against Texas. Yeah, I think Bond's going to ball out. Like I said earlier, I don't know if you heard this sneaky comment. The guys that didn't really make plays week 1, look out for them to make plays week 2. I'm talking about Kendrick Law, probably Ja'Cory Brooks. I think he was in a little hot water the first half. Like I said, Justice Haynes, I think he's going to be looking to make plays. So that's just a few of my guys. As also, Stephen Hicks says, yeah, I hope the Commanders go back to the Washington Redskins. Yeah, everybody knows them as the Redskins. It is what it is. I know it's, the day and age we live in, but man, if you don't go to the Redskins, you can go to something. I think something other than the Commanders. I think the Red Tails would have been a good. And obviously, the Tuskegee Airmen. I think it's a lot of different things you could do other than the Commanders, or you can just go back to the Washington football team. I thought that was just I know it's just crazy. It wasn't much, but you can do a football on the side with a W. I mean, it is what it is. So, yes, a little NFL talk from Stephen Hicks. Shout out to Stephen. Justice Somerson, Tyler Roll, Joyce Motorball is here. Roll dang Tide. I'm here. Yes, sweet home Alabama too. Alabama is NFLU. This is what we do. Jeff Saban, shouts out to this. Does Nick Bosa sign a contract? I don't know if he is, because I think Nick Bosa not signed a contract. Having Brian Burns, the defensive end out of Carolina, I think he wasn't at practice. So I think these guys will probably get their contract signed before Sunday. I'm looking to probably get their contract signed by Friday or Saturday from Nick Bosa, Brian Burns, because these NFL teams are trying to win, and you need to play your best players. So, shouts out to Eli Gold. Yeah, Eli Gold was back in action. It's great to hear his voice. Touchdown, Alabama. You know, I can only do so much of his impersonation, but I love Eli. Glad to hear he's doing better. You know, him and Tyler Watts up in the booth, and we'll have Chris Stewart on the road game. So I'm excited. I'm excited. Glad. Shouts out. Listen. Burton is proving people wrong. He's looking locked and loaded. Burton is looking like, I told you, Burton, this is Burton's money year. He's looking to make plays. So I think he's going to make plays again versus Texas. And listen, I'm excited. It's going to be a good matchup. So listen, roll Tide. Have a great week. Let's beat up on these Longhorns. Shouts out to the student section, B Jamming, Sweet Home Bama 2, Jeff Stapleton, Stephen Hicks, Icebox, William Bryant, Justin Summerlin, the whole crew. Y'all are the best fans, student section in the game. Hey, enjoy football this week. Let's get ready to come back next week and have another great episode of Football University here on CTS Sports Room. Peace and roll Tide. Beat Texas. Let's go.